Hello all, welcome to Module 3 Network Security of the Security Tube Python Scripting Expert course and certification. In this video, we will look at how to program using Scapy. Now, as we mentioned in the previous videos, that Scapy can be used as a standalone interpreter mode tool or as a library. Now in this video we will look at how to use Scapy as a library so that you can include it in your programs, and you will really appreciate how powerful this is going to make you. So let's go ahead. Now in order to go ahead and use Scapy programmatically, let's go ahead and actually launch just a Python terminal. Now in order to use Scapy, you can select the specific packages, or you can just go ahead and do an import all from scapy.all. Right? Now once this is done, you can harness the power of Scapy from within your programs. Now let me give you an example. In this video what we are trying to do is create an ARP scanner for the entire subnet. So the first thing, if you remember, was to create the ARP packet itself. So let's first try various things out before we actually try and weave everything together. So if you remember from previous videos how to create a packet, or even before that, let's actually do an ls on the ARP packet. Now if you notice, to make an ARP request, what we have to do is fill up the pdest field, and this needs to be the IP address of the computer for which we need the hardware address. By default, the ARP packet is an ARP request packet. One of the other things we can also quickly do is go ahead and add the hardware destination field to be all Fs. So if you were to create an ARP packet and also fill up, let's say, the Ethernet field, this is exactly how you would do it. You would first define the Ethernet header. Of course, it's going to be an all broadcast packet, and hence the destination is all Fs, and then you would go ahead and define your ARP packet. Now, before trying to do this programmatically, let's feed in some seed values to test things out. So let's say the IP address we are interested in is going to be the default gateway. So this creates the ARP packet. As you can see, we can quickly do and show to actually look at individual fields as well. And this looks fantastic, right? The source has been automatically filled in by Scapy, both in the Ethernet header as well as in the ARP headers. And this looks good to go. So what we can do right now is, if you remember from the previous video, basically send this out. We are going to go ahead and put layer 2 header as well. And once you send it, you basically go ahead and receive an ARP response for this. The op is at basically tells you this is an ARP response, and this is the MAC address of 192.168.1.1, right? Now, as you can clearly imagine, all you need to do is now create a loop for various different MAC address, various different IP addresses, and go ahead and create this as a full-fledged program. So this is what I've already done here. This is a very simple program which I've written. What I do is, instead of querying for the subnet locally, I'm just probably going ahead and creating the IP address in a much more simple way. As part of the exercise, you need to find out what Python libraries you can use to find the local subnet. So if you remember, let's go step by step. We've imported everything here, and now we need to create the list of IP addresses. Now if you recall, range can help us in that. So to create between 1 to 255, you can very simply use range 1 to 56, and you would get a list consisting of all the LSBs which you may require. So what we are going to do is for LSB in range 1 to 256, and now for each of these the first thing to do is construct the IP address itself, which can very easily be done using this command. Right, now that you have the IP, what you need to do is create the ARP packet, and this is the ARP request packet using exactly what we did in the previous demo. So here goes your ARP request packet, and as you can imagine, now we want to go ahead and get the ARP response by sending the ARP request. Now if you notice, there are one extra addition, which is verbose equal to 0. This will ensure that all of this little begin emission, finish sending one packet, and all of that stuff which gets printed when you actually call SRP is not there. Right, so here you go. And then what you really want is, if you got an ARP response, you know that the IP address is available in the current subnet. Right, and there you go. So what we do is we just print the IP address and the MAC address of the machine which responded with an ARP response. Okay, I think I did a very stupid mistake of actually having this as LBS rather than LSB. So here goes. Let me just copy paste this part here. Let me paste this here. Actually, yeah, some problem with the indentation. It's like one additional. So now in this line, what we are doing is just making the ARP request as I explained before, and after this what we are going to do is just go ahead and do the ARP response. This is when SRP1 returns, and then finally, as explained, if we receive a response, we know that the machine is going to be up, and so we print the IP address and the MAC address of this machine. Right, if you notice, you already found the first one, 192.168.1.3. we also have 1.1, and it's trying to scan the entire subnet. Now this would take some time, so let me go ahead and concentrate more on this program. Now, couple of things. If you had not added the whole verbose part, your entire screen output is going to be cluttered really badly. So let me show you. Right, if you notice, too much of clutter. So this is the reason why I used verbose equals 1. Equals 0. Okay, so what have we done? We've written a very simple ARP request scanner programmatically using Scapy, which is fantastic because now any of your programs which you need to use for something can have the power of Scapy. Now, a quick exercise is to find your local subnet automatically, post on the student forums as to how you can find your local subnet programmatically in Python. Now for the exercises, create a DNS poisoning tool similar to DNS spoof. If you don't know what that is, Google for it. It's part of Backtrack, a couple of other distributions as well. Using Scapy programmatically, then create an ARP MITM tool. Basically, the whole idea is you should feed 2 IP addresses to it, and it should go ahead and do an ARP-based layer 2 MITM where it sends forged requests to both of these machines and ensures that the traffic is routed through you. Third, create a TCP SYN scanner using Scapy. You can consult Scapy's documentation regarding the same. They have a sample implementation. And now for the more advanced stuff. Figure out how to create a fuzzer with Scapy. Now Scapy in its documentation actually has a little function called fuzz. Look into that, play with it, and then create a DNS fuzzer with Scapy and try it against DNS spoof and check if it is possible to crash the DNS spoof program in any way. I mean, I don't know, just try doing it. That brings us to the end of part 8, programming with Scapy. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please post them in the student forums and we will try and get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you very much and have a great day ahead. Bye-bye.